Many thanks for staying tuned to Business Insights on SIG News. Yes, we're looking at industrialization today, and we're looking at how foreign direct investment will translate to industrialization. Of course, we've said that no country is an island. Every country needs investment and partnership from other countries for its economy to grow, as well as develop the business environment within the country. And that has been mostly the reason behind President Tinubu's recent trips to countries like India and the US. Now, from the trip to India, a lot of goodies have come for Nigeria, talking about foreign direct investment pledges from some companies in Nigeria. Now, from that trip, nearly $14 billion of pledges have been secured by Nigeria from Indian investors who seek economic cooperation with Nigeria. So we'll talk more about that as we bring in our guest, Dr. Tokunbo Olorindami, who is a business development consultant. Good morning, sir. Welcome to Business Insights. Good morning, Dr. Tokunbo.
Good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm good. Hope you are too.
I am trying.
Please try harder, because we've seen that some goodies have already come to Nigeria, and soon you and I will be enjoying the benefits of it. But let's look at how it will benefit every one of us. Now, like I said, nearly $14 billion of pledges from Indian investors have come to Nigeria from President Bola Tinubu's trip to India. Some Indian investors have pledged some form of investment. Now let's look at some of them. We have in the part of petrochemicals, Indorama has pledged $8 billion worth of investment to expand their petrochemical facilities in Rivers State. So we also have Jindo Steels pledging an investment of $3 billion in iron ore processing to aid Nigeria's drive for industrialization. Before we begin to look at some of these companies and the area of investment, first, how do you feel knowing that these were the take-home for President Tinubu on his return from India?
It is great news, very great news, heartwarming news. It's a home run for Mr. President, and it's good for the optics, for the market optics for Nigeria. It's a good indicator that we're really going all out to launch yourself back into dominance as the largest market in Africa. Very good move for the president. Personally, I'm happy about it, but I'm also very skeptical. I don't want to get ahead of the interview, but I'm a bit skeptical about how this will work out. And, in Norama, they're not new players in Nigeria. I would like to measure them by the impact they've made by their initial $1.4 billion, I think, with the petrochemical development in Port Harcourt, and how much impact that has made already. Are we still exporting fertilizer? How well distributed is the fertilizer going around and all of that? But I'm happy about it. It's good optics for the president just coming in and making this kind of very good home run is very, very fantastic. So let's hope that he can keep it going.
Okay, we're very hopeful too. But let's start from iron ore. For Nigeria, according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS, from July 2021 to the first quarter of 2022, Nigeria spent over ₦1 trillion on iron and steel imports. That's for a country that has over 3 billion metric tons of iron ore. Now, this iron ore deposit found in Kogi, we have Enugu, Niger State, as well as the FCT. And now that Jindo Steel has pledged $3 billion in iron ore processing, what are the hopes for iron ore production processing in Nigeria? We have the story of the Ajaokuta Steel Company. What's your take on this?
the Ajakuta Steel Company has some kind of strange peculiarities, as though the entire concept of that steel company is a bit cursed, if you know what I mean. The Russians were involved and they pulled out at some stage. The place went moribund and it has refused to come alive ever since. Now, if the Indians are really ready, I guess there'll be a lot of sorting out to do. And this is where my skepticism is a bit rife. You know, we need to get our acts together to ensure that this can happen. Otherwise, I would say they should just go set up in Enugu. And I'm very, very happy with some of the comments that have been credited to the president, saying that he is ready to remove any bottleneck that really want to frustrate this business is happening, you know. So the president already he knows that these things are there, and he's basically given the ministers, I think it was mentioned that the Minister of Finance was given a marching order to get this sorted immediately. So it's going to be good for the economy, the largest economy in Africa. But do we really have our acts together? Looking at Ajakuta and the cloud of doubt that's been cast over that place, whether it can happen or not, there's a lot of paperwork that needs to, be sorted out. I guess some debts need to be paid. The trade union needs to be sorted so that when a new player come, they can really get going without any issues. That's why I say that I have some skepticisms about the ease of these new investors, setting up their park and getting going with the business.
Okay, let's assume the hurdles are cleared off the way and then it becomes a success that production actually takes place. Now, we know that the principal use of iron ore is production of iron, which is used in making steel. So how will that impact the economy? What economic gains will it translate to for Nigeria?
Oh, that would be a lot. It's going to bring a lot of impact. I see direct job creation. I see indirect job creation. I see induced job creation. You can imagine the impact this will have on manufacturers of different products. The value chain for steel is very, very wide. Construction, technology, transportation, roads, and the list is endless. So I would expect that not just for Nigeria, for the sub-region, that the steel sourcing, Nigeria will become a new destination. People jumping into an aircraft, jumping to Russia or other places to source steel. I imagine that the Chinese will also be interested because of the infrastructure development happening in their own enclave. The UAE will be interested, and that sort of growth will bring about a lot of expansion. And then you can see companies and major manufacturers coming in knowing that the source material for their creation and innovation can be found in a market in Nigeria where there's also large labor. So you expect an explosion market-wise, and the economic impact will be a lot. So GDP should jump up several digits.
Will it also create a kind of local supply value chain? Are there businesses, are there industries that would benefit from this too?
That's a very good question, and you're beginning to bring me to my very strong point in business. You see, just saying that foreign direct investment is coming is not enough. You have to look at the readiness of the marketplace for the investment. We've studied some investment, especially in offshore wind development, even in Europe, in some communities where the investment didn't make any impact on the communities that hosted them because they didn't have the skills to participate. And these are very critical points that we need to note. Those who know how to sort things should begin to ask people to upskill. You need to upskill and get ready for what is coming. Otherwise, it will come and you just be an observer. They come, bring their money, and when the money is made, they take it out. They bring their experts because they cannot find experts on ground. So what's the gain for Nigeria? We're not keeping the money. We're not trapping the money. At best, people are gatemen, cleaners, and things. We don't want that kind of investment. We want an investment that can really get the teeming youths engaged in a way that they are providers of the critical labor that industry needs, and local manufacturer can also plug in, and then the value chain can organically develop. So one of the few things I think we need to start doing as a country is upskilling for the production of iron, upskilling for that value chain for manufacturing of vehicles, and this can happen through apprenticeship programs or internships and the likes of it.
All right, so that takes us to power, because for this kind of production to happen, of course, we need power. And then we have Skipper Cells, one other company from India, which plans to invest $1.6 billion in the power sector by building 20,000, I beg your pardon, 2,000 megawatts power plants across the country in 4 years. But we have the power sector privatized, most parts of it privatized. In what way do you think this investment is going to come? How will the generation plan be? And when is it going to happen that we're going to begin to see the effects of this? Because we have the discos, we have the gencos, we also have the transmission. So if they're investing $1.6 billion, what do you see in this?
I'm sorry, I'm not very optimistic about the issue of power, because you see, there's a lot that needs to be sorted out. It's not just generation that is the issue. Distribution is another issue. Getting value for what you generate and distribute is another issue. People don't pay their power bills. It's not an attractive market. You frustrate the government, the market, the gencos and all of that. It's a very difficult place, and the history of power generation distribution has perhaps contributed to this. Nigerians have lost confidence, so when they get the power, they don't even know when it's different with them generating it themselves. They see the bills, they query it, it's abnormal, it's high, and all of that. So any serious investor at this time will be coming with power. I do not think that any of these guys who are jumping into the market will expect to rely on public power and the national grid. Rather, I think they will be contributing to the national grid from whatever excess they can generate. But I am sure that they will be coming with their own independent power source, maybe some kind of plant within the system or some kind of plug-in system that runs with the entire production of the steel or the petrochemicals. Otherwise, they're going to get frustrated very quickly. But the other end that we were talking about is the value chain development, manufacturers wanting to come in. And this is where, we can shortchange ourselves, and that circle of investment will not be complete. The induced economic vibration might be cut short because the other people along the value chain will want to plug into the national grid, and this is where the disappointment comes in. A 2,000 megawatts contribution to Nigeria energy at this time is it's not substantial. It is something, and if it can be relied on, if it can be consistent, it's worth celebrating, but it's not enough. A single airport in some countries use over 6,000 megawatts in a day. So you can imagine what 2,000 would do. And I know that, yeah, we should celebrate that in Nigeria. But if we're talking in terms of the kind of investment coming, $14 billion, we need to be looking at 10,000, megawatts to stabilize the value chain.
Okay, looking more into these investments, the $14 billion investments collectively, we've talked about steel, we've talked about Skipper Cells, which is investing $1.6 billion in power. And now let's get back to Indorama, $8 billion in petrochemicals. A while ago, you were expressing some concerns about that. What are they?
I mentioned that Indorama, they're not new players in the Nigerian market. in 2011, I think, they came in to establish the largest fertilizer and petrochemical company in Port Harcourt. I think they're running now. I'm not quite sure, but can you estimate the impact that has made? I'm a bit optimistic because Indorama is huge and they're major players globally in petrochemicals. So I expect that if they're bringing $8 billion, they're ready for business. And but I don't think that Port Harcourt is going to be able to contain that. If they can sink that kind of amount, we will expect population explosion in that city. We expect a lot of more pollution in that city. It has to be a bit spread out. And I'm looking at, the climate risk now, part of, it's part of business development these days. When you're bringing such a huge amount of money, you want to know what carbon footprint you're leaving behind, all of this amount of money and the climate effect and impact it will have on the local community. We've seen similar investment in the past, and that has left Ogoni land, crying for many decades now, and they're still working to clean up the place, and it will take between 30 to 100 years to actually clean up some of the mess that's been left there. So I'm a bit skeptical, and these are the issues that I'm looking at. 8 billion is a lot. What's the plan? Where are they going with this money, and how would the local economy benefit from it? Are they bringing their train with their people, and are they going to be employing their engineers? We need to see that there's a socioeconomic impact, is sucked up by the community. They're creating direct jobs for our people. They are creating indirect jobs for our people. They are creating induced jobs for our people. And this is where we would have gained massively, but we'll be losing out. For example, sourcing parts for their operations and maintenance and all of that will have to come from abroad. So a lot of the money will still be going abroad until Nigeria gets her acts right. But it's good. It is good. But we just don't want to be a marketplace where people fly over our heads to bring in money and then fly over our heads to take the money out at the same time. Besides power, the issue of justice could also affect, the way this business is run. People want to bring in their money and know that they can get it out when they want to. The justice system needs to show a lot of promise, especially with business development, conceptualization, and access for respect to contracts, and all of that.
Now, these concerns you've expressed are germane. So what is the way to go here to ensure that the full benefits of these investments are enjoyed by Nigeria? What would need to happen to ensure that Nigerian economy and businesses benefit a lot from these investments?
Unfortunately, we cannot just tap our fingers and make it happen. It has to happen gradually. It's an incremental but deliberate increase of skills. We need to skill up, for example, ensure that we have the skill to somewhat support some of these industries, and that the enabling environment for other investors within the country to grow and plug into the value chain, for example, production of operations and maintenance capability to some of these factories, and ensuring that the climate end of things is straightened out. These companies are ensuring that their ESG is contextualized to our own sustainability agenda in Nigeria, and there's a lot of climate financing going on to ensure that we're mitigating, the impact of climate, and the companies themselves are into sustainable manufacturing, so that we don't end up destroying, the people in the bid to build the economy. And then the justice system in Nigeria needs to clearly show respect for contracts, respect for intellectual property, respect for businesses, so that people know that they can come, do business, and take their money out. For somebody like Richard Branson, Virgin Nigeria Airline, that left and he went public to say Nigeria is one of the poorest places to do business in the world. For that kind of a person to give that kind of feedback to other businessmen like him, we have a lot of correction to do. And certainly he was frustrated out of the Nigerian market. Don't forget that there's Virgin Australia, Virgin India, there's several other countries that have plugged into his brand and they're doing very well. So that is just a side journey to show you that we have a lot of cleaning up to do. We have to improve on our image business-wise. And I'm glad that both the mannerism, the gesture, the declaration of Mr. President sort of shows that, okay, there's a new sheriff in town and he means business. So I expect to see things change, but don't expect it to happen very quickly. It's going to be a gradual process.
Okay, let's pick it up from your side journey. We're talking about how the review that an investor gave about Nigeria wasn't so good, and Nigeria needs to put its act together. That is one thing that we've seen that President Bola Tinubu is committed to as he makes his trips to several countries. The United States Chamber of Commerce has extended an invitation to President Tinubu to participate in the closing bell ceremony at NASDAQ on Wednesday, September 20th. You do know that NASDAQ is a prominent stock exchange in New York, and it holds this event during the 78th session of the United Nations General Assembly UNGA. Now, we do not know exactly what President Tinubu tells these investors that turns around the mindset that they've had about Nigeria from negative reviews of previous investors. But as he goes on trying to promote trade and foreign direct investment in Nigeria, what are the areas do you think he should be looking at? What kinds of investment should he also be looking to attract to Nigeria, even as he goes to the US?
Okay, for the US, it's the home of civil rights, and there's a lot that can happen between Nigeria and the United States of America. The president going out and putting himself out there, going here, going there, it's great. This is what we need at this time. However, these investors, at the stock exchange in the US, they do not need the president to tell them anything about the Nigerian economy that they do not already know. These people know what's going on, and they know if you're serious about what you want to do or not. I'll give you a typical example of a sector that I think we can really, really begin to indicate that we're ready and steady for is in software development. I think India is perhaps going to overtake the US soon, if they haven't, as the country with the largest software engineers, per square kilometer anywhere else in the world. And Nigeria has the potential to cash into that kind of market and make ourselves, a steady sector where we are constantly attracting people who want to secure innovative coders and secure innovative engineers to contribute to creating solutions for the world. United States is one of the solution center. I mean, any company that is anything anywhere in the world today must have a link to see Silicon Valley, especially in the tech world. So I would expect, and I'm glad that I think the Minister of I think his Communication and Digital Economy is on the entourage of the president. These are the kind of critical connect that he will need. And then back home, the president during his campaign kept mentioning that he will convert the Yahoo boys to, IT expert. And this is where it happens. I expect that already we should begin to galvanize upon electoral promises. And some of these ministers, they appear to be people who already know these things. So they need to begin to create those hubs and the enablers for these things to happen. You cannot say you're attracting investors and there's no skill for those investors to use to develop goods and services in situ, in the country. If they have to bring in their engineers, bring in their coders, those ones will have their families out there, and when they make their money, they send it back. So that socioeconomic impact is not happening. It's just a mirror. It's a reflection of the possibilities that can happen, but it's not actually, it's not actually seated in. It's just we're just hearing that, oh, this person is coming and that person is coming. It's like when MTN, I think it's MTN or ShopRite, some company, they were trying to pull out money, or DSTV, they were trying to remove some money. And there was the scarcity of dollar in Nigeria then, and it cost a lot of row. People want to do business. I want to know that they can take their money. But the way the business is set up must be such that the economy can benefit. You want to see people, socioeconomic indicators improve, people buying houses, they're living on a lot more, their standard of living are increasing, their families are happier because this investment is coming. Otherwise, it's just going to be another facade and just a reflection of realities that can be. So with the president going to the US, he will again be letting people know, look, I'm a new president and I mean business. We'll clean up and we'll make things happen. We'll make the economy attractive. Anything other than that will be too much. And that is what he is saying. And that's what he should keep saying, because those guys know our market more than we do.
Touched on digital economy when you made reference to the president talking about creating 1 million jobs in the digital aspect, in the digital sector rather, and then he talked about converting the Yahoo boys to people that will be doing ethical digital jobs. We do know that there is ethical hacking. So is there a way to maybe have these people convert professionally to doing something ethical in the digital space? And can we start from home before maybe exporting to other parts of the world? Because the Economic Community of West Africa States, ECOWAS, is preparing to launch the joint platform for advancing cybersecurity in West Africa, and that is even going to happen today. Now, from what we've heard from some tech experts in Nigeria, it seems that when it comes to these expertise, we have Nigerians who are very, very good in this area. So is there a market in Africa that Nigeria can start exploring in the digital space, and then we can export outside, just like India, just like China has done?
Yes, you see, I've always been an advocate for investment between African countries and not necessarily, jumping across the Atlantic, because there's so much that Nigeria and Ghana can do together if we get our acts together. There's so much that Nigeria and Zimbabwe and South Africa can do if we get our acts together that will be beneficial to both countries. Saying that India now houses more software engineers than anywhere else, overtaking the United States or soon to overtake the United States, is a statement of facts. There are certain product service that I need to do, and I run into problem with my DevOps team, and I will just go on certain platforms and reach out, and 5 out of 5 times, the people who will respond and help you out with the codes for that will be from India or Pakistan. So without leaving their country, they're already meeting those services. And, technology has made the workplace so ubiquitous today. You can be here and working elsewhere, several continents, away from yourself. But the key thing here is for us to grow that market. We can grow that market within the next 1 to 2 years. And the easiest and most formalized channels for this to happen is, for example, the Minister of Digital Economy to open up hubs and begin recruitment under a special apprenticeship program. Let these people come in. If you don't open the door to them, they won't come in. If they can come in and get paid for getting trained, then you
Okay, we'll get back to Dr. Tokumbo so we can continue looking at foreign direct investment and industrialization. Now, when he returns, one area that we'll also be looking at are the challenges of foreign direct investment. Are there challenges associated with having foreign direct investment? How can Nigeria mitigate those challenges to ensure that it gains from the benefits or it gains from foreign direct investments? And let's also look at industrialization. Yes, to industrialize means you urbanize more, and it also means that a lot of changes will be happening. Now, for a lot of those industrialized activities, what would be the environmental impact? Now, Dr. Tokumbo actually talked about some of it when he expressed concern about Indorama expanding in River State. He talked about the climate effects of that. So how can Nigeria mitigate such? Because if we do not tackle it holistically, while we're talking about the benefits, smiling about the benefits, if we do not side by side handle the challenges, it then means that over the long term, the effect, the challenges of the industrialization will begin to water down the gains. So these are some of the issues we'll look at after this quick break. Just stay tuned to Business Insight on SIG News. Many thanks for being there. It is still Business Insight and SIG News, and we're looking at foreign direct investment and industrialization. Dr. Tokumbo Olorundami, a business development consultant, is still with us. All right, Dr. Tokumbo, we've been talking about the benefits. We're talking about the ways to maximize the gains of foreign direct investment and industrialization. But let's look at the downside. Are there even downside to foreign direct investment with industrialization on the environment, on the resources that will be explored? Let's look at that.
Yes, there are downsides, and one of the key or the major downside is that our industrialization back home has been interrupted. We depend on um, foreign direct industrialization. Permits me to use that word because we don't have the infrastructure to sustain some of the investment we're trying to pull in. In Europe and America, for example, North America and Europe, they have gone from industrialization and they're now in the era of knowledge work because most of the systems with which to sustain their industrialization is already in place. So the downside in the aspect of industrialization and interrupted industrialization in Nigeria is that we somewhat don't have what it takes to sustain certain industry, and that sort of make it harder for us to, to draw the critical juice and the benefits of any foreign direct investment as we should. So you see an investment coming and it's basically still powering other places. The money is being taken out because the skill set, the financing, development of finance infrastructure, insurance, and all of that, they're not in place. A company like Indorama now can come in and they're investing so much money. Is it a Nigerian insurance company that is insuring that money? Go find out. You find out that that may not be the case. So we're not draining the best of the juice from that benefit, and these are some of the downside. Besides, the infrastructural readiness, there is the sustainability end of things, the climate impact, the level of extreme weather conditions that can begin to happen, and the social and cultural dimensions to addressing some of the vulnerabilities, the fact that Hawaii was so dry that a single spark lit it up and caught fire and everywhere caught you think that the whole communities were already made ready with kerosene, or they had fuel poured here and there, but it's just climate extremes, weather extremes due to climate change. So these are some of the downsides. Pollution in China today is heavy, and it's because China appears to be the engine room of the whole world. Everybody wants to go and produce there. There's cheap labor, the infrastructure is there, the financing is there, and all of that. But what about the pollution? So these are some of the downsides. Otherwise, if we can take to greener investment, climate financing is ensured and enforced, I believe that Nigeria will benefit from these door-opening gestures from Mr. President to the world.
Okay, let's also look at policy framework for the investments that are coming in and even other investments, whether domestic or foreign. But specifically about the foreign direct investments in the area of resource depletion. Yes, we know that we have over 3 billion metric tons of iron ore deposits in Nigeria. But should there be a kind of policy framework that also looks at that and also protects that for future generations and other businesses that may want to get into that sector, maybe mining other kinds of resources that we have for to serve as a guide for investors?
I think you're very correct with your submission. We need to look more into the sustainable end of doing business, sustainable mining, sustainable manufacturing, sustainable development, look at the SDGs and how we can allow this inform policy formation for guiding how we implement, design, and enforce policies. Policy inconsistency has been one of the largest contributor to some of the bad press we're getting in terms of business development in Africa and particularly in Nigeria. The example I cited about Virgin Nigeria and how Virgin Atlantic pulled out of that agreement, it was mainly because of policy inconsistency. His Excellency Issa Yuguda was the Minister of Aviation when Virgin came in, and 2 ministers after him, Virgin has already packed their things and they're leaving. So it should tell you something about the body language, the policy, the relational force between the parties involved. The fact that you're changing either presidents or ministers or state governors does not particularly mean that the entire business structure and the order of doing things would change so much so that people cannot do their business with the ease with which they used to do it, and mainly it's because either policies are not respected, or they're put aside, or somebody is undercutting, the energy of that policy. So we must get that end right, and as you've rightly submitted, we need to think more sustainably. You think that water cannot finish, think again. You think the oil will not dry up, think again. If you think the iron ore will not finish, you should think again. Because if you have a pot of soup and that soup is really big, if you keep taking from it, it will go down. And we're not even allowing it to the way these things have come about. They've come through several geological centuries and years through
Okay,
uh
Dr. Tokumbo, we're out of
you know.
time. I wish we had more time to talk about this, but yeah,
Thank you.
unfortunately, this is how
Thank you.
much time would allow us dwell on the topic today, foreign direct investment and industrialization.
Mm,
Thank you very much for being on the show today. We value so much your contributions. And by the way, I didn't
thank you.
submit to anything. I was only asking a question. You're the expert here.
No, no, no. Don't be afraid to make a submission.
No, it's not
It's
about fear.
fine.
You're the
I mean,
expert. I'm only
you should,
asking
even
questions.
even in your news reporting, you can report news sustainably, so you're safe. Don't worry.
Thank you very much. But it is not a matter of fear. It's about letting the experts do their job. And that is what Dr. Tokumbo Olorundami has done today on the show. It's been a wonderful one, and it's been very insightful, I must say. Thank you for watching. I am Blessing Aichi. The show returns tomorrow at 10 a.m. Keep watching Sook News. Have yourself a great day.